DORK Podcast with Rich Keefe. It's the DORK Podcast with Davey. It's the DORK Podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Ray Von Day. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan. Davey, how are you?
It's good. It wasn't Ray. It was Ray. Was it Tazon Day? Was Chocolate Rain? Chocolate Rain. Yeah. It's Tazon Day. So Ray Von Day sounds like Tazon Day.
Last time I saw him, I think was on Tosh.0 when Tosh got him for one of those web redemptions.
The web redemption?
Yeah, I think he got
I don't know what he needed to be redeemed for. That was a banger.
I crushed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed it. So I'm with you on that. Here's the thing about fantasy football, Ryan. Let's
talk fantasy football for a second, shall we?
Not to take a hard left turn. I realized this over the 25 years that I've been, actually longer. I think I've probably played fantasy football like 26 years.
That's wild to think about. I think, yeah.
I remember the first time I did a team, I co-owned a team with my dad, and we had like the early version of the internet, and you had to, in the draft, it was just like a chat room, and you had to like type out the names of all the players. There was no grids. There was nothing like that. And then there was one guy that would like each week give you all the scores. It was chaos. I remember in our computer drafting the team. It was Warwick Dunn's rookie year. So whatever year, that's probably 97, 98. Yeah. Anyway, I realized this over my journey, and it's like, it's just like an athlete. It's an athlete's mentality. The losses bother me far more than the wins excite me.
Well, I think it's the true mark, as my father, who was a manager for a long time at different businesses, said, do you love to win or do you hate to lose? And his management thing was like, the most successful people in the world hate losing more than they like winning.
Yeah, that's me. I'm clearly one of the most successful people in the world. Then
I know anyway.
It drives me up the wall. Like if I had won today, I would have been like, all right, hey, good win for me, and let's go to the episode. But like I lost, and it's fucking chewing me up. It's chewing me up.
I lost. I'm in 4 fantasy leagues this year.
Too much.
I lost all 4 games.
You know what?
I'm currently losing all 4 games.
You know what? You get back on that horse next week at a fresh slate starting on Thursday.
We're gonna give those digital men with those big digital hearts. We're gonna give them a pat on the butt and say like, "Hey, we'll get them next week." It wasn't our week.
Get back out there. I love all the memes. Yeah, with people like they got the Dan Campbell thing. He's like me to my team every week, and it's Dan Campbell. He'd be like, "I love you guys. I'll do anything for you guys. All I do is think about you guys."
Although my adopted college football team, big win this weekend.
You a Texas guy?
I'm a Texas guy now.
How'd you land on Texas?
So I remember, I think we talked about this on the podcast once. I was talking about how New England is not a college football territory.
No, it's the opposite.
And so I was shopping around. Like I want to root for a college football team. I want to follow a college football team.
100%.
And I was kind of talking to people who we know who went to like big universities, and I'm like, sell me, basically pitch me.
Yeah, sure.
And my friend Nate, who was married to my wife's childhood best friend, promised me, no one else did this, and he did. He's from Austin, and he said he would take me to a game.
Yeah, that'd blow your mind. That'd blow your socks off. That is just a different world. Like SEC, Big 12, Big 10, like those stadiums, it's just we can't wrap our heads around it being from the Northeast.
And then he started bringing up Arch Manning, and I was like, sold. Well, I'm a Texas fan now.
Arch Manning. That would be the anti-sell. He doesn't even play, by the way. He's like the greatest high school player of all time. Everyone's going nuts for him. It's like he sits the bench.
Doesn't play yet.
Yeah. Well, the kid the Quinn Ewers is he'll probably go to the NFL, I guess, after this year.
He's pretty good.
He's got eligibility. So we'll see. All right.
I think that was if in order to land a recruit like Arch Manning, you have to be like, well, this kid's only going to be here another year. We already know that.
Yeah, right. Although college football is crazy now. They transfer all the time. Like it's just wild. Like it's rare for a guy to stay at one school. They just like hop around. It's like it's the Wild West.
How many guys did Prime bigger into Colorado? Like 80?
Yeah, I think so. I think he got like 80% of his roster was new. They won again.
Sure did.
I'm rooting for that, man. I think that's a blast.
Did you see the memes though? Like there was like, oh, sold out stadium, and they were like their Jumbotron. They had like the Michael Scott like little TV.
I need TV in Colorado. How could you possibly even see a replay from that?
You bet your bottom dollar that next season that thing is going to be 5 times the size.
Well, my question is, does Dion stay there for more than 2 years, or someone's going to come calling, either an SEC school or Florida State where he went, or the NFL. Like someone's
I
going to
would
come
say
calling
if
to Colorado.
the only place I think he would go to Florida State if they wanted him to.
They should have hired him like 2 years ago. That was stupid, but because he's.
But I
gonna
love that,
recruit
like
so
everything.
awesome.
I love he's like Jordan, like everything's personal,
Mhm.
even if it never was. Like it's personal. Like he tries to make it like everything's like mirror, like
Mhm.
mirror material. You know, like tape, like Rocky, like taping it on the mirror.
Yeah.
You know, like
You didn't think we were going to go undefeated. It's like, well, of course we didn't think you were going to go undefeated.
because no one does that.
Your team had 1 win last year.
Yeah.
But it is stupid. People are like surprised that they're good because he got at Jackson State, which is 1AA. 2 years ago, he got the best kid in the country to go there. That Travis Hunter, the kid that plays both ways.
Yep.
Everybody wanted him, and he went to play for Deion. Deion's kid could have played anywhere he wanted. The quarterback, he could have played anywhere.
If Deion Sanders walked into this house and told me that he wanted me to play Colorado football, even if everything in my body would be like, don't, I would still do it.
I'm like, yes, sir. I got
like, yes, sir. I would call him sir.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Damn right. Coach Prime. Yeah. Coach Prime.
This week in DORK.
The Gen V trailer was another one we tweeted out at Dork Podcast. This is the Boys spin-off series, which is coming to Prime. It's going to come out on September 29th. I feel like this is kind of a little bit under the radar right now, but it has a chance to be maybe not as good as The Boys, but it's going to be the similar action, humor. It's the same world. There's going to be probably some overlap, obviously, with some of those characters. But like right now, I'm not like dying to see it, but I'm sure once it's out, I'm gonna just watch it every episode.
It's gonna be. And one of the things I think Prime does that's really good that no one else does is when they talk about shows are announced, and they're like, "Oh, what's up, man?" The dog just skittered in here. One of the things that I love, they're like, "Here's a new trailer for this," and by the way, it's out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like you got to wait till next year. You got to wait like 6 months. They're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's out at the end of the month."
End of the month. End of the goddamn month. Speaking of end of the month, Saw 10, aka Saw X. You gonna start watching these? I think a bunch of them are on Hulu. Is it Prime? Prime or Hulu? One of the ones I have, I think a pile of them are on. So I'm gonna start my rewatch soon.
But like between this and Lost, like
you're up to your
hog. I got homework. This is the first time I think in Dork history where I actually have like a lot of homework.
You put in the time. You chip away at some Lost. You chip away at some Saws. You're gonna be in good shape. So yeah, Lost we're gonna do in 2 weeks. Rossi's gonna join us, and we're gonna break down Lost the best we can. I'll try to come up with some sort of outlines because I feel like if it's too loosey goosey, we'll just talk for 5 hours about it. So I'll try to whittle that down a little bit. How about this? Horror movie season. So we mentioned Saw. We got a trailer, or more of a teaser, I guess you would say, for Eli Roth's next movie, Thanksgiving, which, if you remember, Grindhouse, which we talked about last week, I think, for some reason. I was talking about how much, we're talking about Robert Rodriguez, and I was saying how much I loved Planet Terror. So they also, remember, had those fake trailers.
Yes.
And Rob Zombie did one. Robert Rodriguez did one. Eli Roth did one. And Machete became one of the movies, actually.
Right. That was Rodriguez's, right?
Yeah. He and Danny Trejo did that. And then this one was like great. It was like a 30-second, whatever it was, teaser. You're like, oh, gross, cool, whatever. And that was so long ago. And there was always rumors that he might make the movie. And it turns out he made the movie, and it's coming out November 17th. And I like a slasher. I like a themed slasher as well. This looks delightful.
I don't know. I think Hostel to me was like, I was kind of like out on Eli Roth. It just became like gratuitous. Like there was just like murder porn.
It was a bit. Yep. Yeah,
that's not a little bit much. Torture porn or whatever. Yeah,
I'm with you on that. And a lot of people said the same thing about Saw, and I mean they're right. I mean, there's definitely a lot of that in Saw. However, I like Saw more. I like the story in Saw a whole lot more. The villain is much more of one of these like real iconish horror villains in my mind. The way the story's told, I like it better than Hostel.
I like that word. So it's I like the word you just said. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but you said like icon-ish.
Yeah.
Instead of iconic. So it's like
Icon-ish.
he's an icon, like ish, like in certain circles, like can be considered. I like icon-ish. I like that.
Icon-ish.
Mhm.
Eli Roth to me is at his best on those like horror documentaries, because he is the ultimate horror fan. He has like
Yes.
an encyclopedia knowledge of horror movies, and like his opinion on what's good or what isn't, like I'm really interested in that. Whereas his movies, like, they are what they are, like Cabin Fever, The Hostel 1 and 2. I'm trying to think what the other ones he did. He's doing Borderlands, right?
Yes, I
He's
did know
doing
that.
Borderlands. That'll be
I
interesting.
mean, that's a movie like that's been announced again. Talking about like Prime in there, that's been announced what 3-4 years ago, and I
Yeah.
haven't even seen a second of that film.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
We had like the cast forever ago.
Right.
But anyway, so that's Eli Roth. That comes out November 17th. Talk to Me, the horror movie that came out a few months ago that everybody went batshit crazy over. People love this movie. I haven't seen it, but it is going to be on video on demand this Tuesday.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
I was going to say, I highly recommend. Maybe we could turn it around. No, we're watching too much Saw. We're watching too much Lost. But let's pencil this into Dorktober at some point.
Yeah, I think
I think that'd be a good Dorktober.
as much as so last year the darling of the horror genre was whether it was Terrifier 2 or
not Pearl,
the
but what was the first one of Pearl?
X.
X.
I was gonna say Barbarian, but
oh yeah, Barbarian probably more so. Yeah.
So I'm interested in that. Yeah,
for sure. Are you interested in The Nun 2 Electric Boogaloo, which is in theaters? Aura, 45% critic Roddy T's, 76% audience. Many are saying better than The Nun 1.
I've never saw The Nun 1. I have no interest in these movies. I don't care that it's the Conjuring universe.
Conjuring verse.
Yeah, I don't really care.
They've all been pretty great.
Have they though?
Some of them have been pretty
Because
great.
we saw What the Devil Made Me Do It, and that was awful.
That was not good. That was not good. Conjuring 1 though, great.
Yes.
That might end the list, sadly. You know what? I take it back. I liked Annabelle, and I thought Annabelle Creation, I think. The Annabelle little like arc was decent. Conjuring 2 was okay. Conjuring 3, you're right, was really bad. We did a standalone on that.
You know what I found out recently that is disturbing to me?
What's that?
So the real Annabelle, like the real life Annabelle, was a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yes.
I saw a picture of it.
Horrifying.
My mother had that doll. I'm not kidding. Like she had like, it was like, when I was a little kid, it was like as big as me.
Scary.
And it was like
scary.
She kept it. I remember it was like in our, like that like living room that you're not allowed to like sit in.
Yeah.
We had that, and it was like in a rocking chair. I remember it.
Oh, like that. Oh,
yeah. But I saw it. I was like, oh my God. I didn't know that the real Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah, they changed it for the movie, but like, they showed it. And that's the thing, like Conjuring stuff is all based kind of off true stories. Like they get a little bit further and further away from it, but like there's the Warren house in Rhode Island, right? That the Conjuring's based off of. The Conjuring 2, that one over in England, that's like a well-documented story too.
Yeah.
Like the kids getting all freaked out. How about this? If you're into monster movies, if you like a big monster, Godzilla -1 is the name of the movie. The trailer, we tweeted it out. It'll be in the United States on December 1st. But this is for like the true Godzilla, like King Kong, Mothra fans. Like it looks pretty crazy though, if you're into that.
And you know what the coolest thing is? Have you seen the poster for this?
I don't think so.
So it's a new logo. It's at the end of the trailer. So it's one of the coolest bits of like graphic design I've seen. So it's a G, but if you look at the G, like the top of the G going down is like the tail of Godzilla, and then the thing that goes across the G is his head. So it looks like Godzilla. It's actually really cool. See it?
I do see it.
Yeah.
That's pretty slick. I like that.
Yeah. It's like the Hartford Whalers, but like with big monster.
Let me see if I can put it. This goddamn computer. I don't know what I gotta speed this fucker up. It's not right. I should
But
be
so
able
the
to.
minus, while you do that, so the -1 is it's a prequel, right? It's like the very first sighting of Godzilla.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think. I don't speak Japanese, but
I think you might be onto something here.
I mean the monster himself, he's looking tight. He's looking right.
He's looking Titan right.
He doesn't look like a big dinosaur like the Broderick one.
No, and that was tough. The Broderick one, a lot of hype around that. Although the Green Day rendition of Brain Stew on the Godzilla soundtrack is an all-timer because it's the song Brain Stew, which is one of I think their 5 best songs, and then it's the Godzilla sound in the background at random times.
It's just random times. Also,
like
the Jamiroquai song, big Jamiroquai guy. So the
Yeah.
Jamiroquai song on the Godzilla soundtrack was the highlight of that soundtrack, Deeper Underground.
Disagree. I would say Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page.
How do you think Robert Plant felt about that?
Not great.
Not great.
If you get a couple bucks out of it, you probably felt all right. If you're watching on the YouTube, you could jump on our YouTube. We got the -1 poster up right now. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that quite a bit, actually, Ryan.
Quite a
Thanks
bit.
for sharing. Thanks for sharing that. That was good stuff. This also ties in this next little bit of information in this week in #dork ties into the topic du jour very much. They just released this week on Disney Plus a 7.5-minute special called Master and Apprentice, where it's Dave Filoni, Rosario Dawson, and a few others talking about Ahsoka and just sort of talking about actually just sort of bigger picture Star Wars and how important that Master Apprentice role is. There's a lot of different versions of it. And then Ahsoka, and I think one big takeaway, and this is, I already knew this from other interviews, but one big takeaway, and I think this helps. Rosario Dawson loves this character. She's super into Star Wars. She is like so pumped to be Ahsoka Tano, which, listen, these actors and actresses are all playing pretend. So like they don't have to like the thing that they're doing and they can still do a good job. But I do think it probably helps them be a little bit better if they give a shit and if they've actually like seen Rebels or Clone Wars, maybe even read a comic book or two. Like there's so many properties based off of like other characters that people are already fans of, like that, like you and I like, and then they now are live action. They're on screen for the first time. And you could probably tell the difference between those that are kind of into that and at least respect the fan base versus those that are like, it's a fucking paycheck.
Well, here's a great example. I mean, you think of someone like Tom Holland, who's a huge fan. You think of someone who I'm trying to think who else. But the people are like huge fan of the genre. And then you have someone like James Franco. I remember when the first Spider-Man came out and he was playing Harry Osborn and they were like, "Oh, so you're a big fan of the comics as a kid?" He's like, "No."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
pretend. Yeah.
Even if you didn't, I think the correct answer is like, no, I wasn't. But like, I got into it once I found out about this role. I got into it. I did a lot of research, and it's
Right.
the lore is there. So I think there's the respect for the source material. It makes a huge difference.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you think of like even like Bernthal, the Punisher.
Oh my
Like,
god,
he was a huge fan too. Like, it was a huge difference.
I think those Netflix characters, whether they liked them at first or were like fans growing up or not, they really took pride. Like Charlie Cox was obsessed with it, and he's like, "I don't want anybody else to play Daredevil." In fact, he told a funny story about when he would go on auditions for other stuff. He's like, "I was still playing Daredevil, like I wasn't getting any roles because like I couldn't get out of it."
Yeah,
and Punisher is a good example. I'm trying to think who else.
Oh, someone brought up a good Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It makes
for
a huge
sure.
difference. By the way, to me, like the best on-screen Superman I've seen, and I don't how they fucked that up. I will never get over that. I will never get over that.
Oh, so
Perfect.
speaking of the DCEU and some of the fuck ups that they've had, apparently now Aquaman 2 Electric Boogaloo, which was scheduled for last Christmas and is now supposed to come out this Christmas. Apparently now it's in jeopardy. And it was funny that TMZ had an article that was like, comic book fans are concerned about the fate of Aquaman 2. And I was like, not sure that's true.
So last week I meant to bring this up and I never got a chance to. Do you know that David Fincher wrote a script for Spider-Man?
No, I did not. That's
Could
a good
you
one.
imagine? Could you imagine if that movie got made?
He probably should have done Craven.
Can you imagine if someone gave David Fincher a dark, like if you gave him Blade?
Yes. I
A
can imagine
David
that.
Fincher Blade movie, an R-rated David Fincher Blade movie. Give me that.
Yeah. Fincher. I'm looking forward to this killer movie coming out too.
Yeah, me too.
Because the guys just won. It's like a hit parade.
Yeah.
God damn. Would you say right now, like as of this current moment, who are the 3 or 4 best directors you think?
My favorite directors?
Yeah, let's start with your favorite.
Fincher.
Yeah.
This is
mean,
tough. You give me 3 and I'll tell you mine.
So I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, but I gotta
Nolan. I was gonna say
put
Nolan.
Nolan on there, like it's sort of an obvious one. And so one that gets a lot of love is Denis Villeneuve.
So if you, I need a
I haven't
5.
seen
I need
movies.
5.
Yeah.
Because my favorite ones right now are Villeneuve.
Yep.
Edgar Wright.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of these are like Taika Waititi.
Ryan Coogler.
Coogler's fucking real good.
I'm trying to think like Guillermo del Toro.
Oh shit.
Like, so there's so many of these like, but then like, I would say Tarantino, but like,
Yeah, Tarantino's still for me, but he's only gonna make one more movie. He said, like he's
Right.
he's gonna make one final movie. Yeah, as far as like currently like probably working on multiple movies. Yeah, because I mean I have my list of like favorite directors, but like some of them are done, some of them have passed away. Like they're just
Right.
they're but like
some of them are still going despite not being very good anymore. Scorsese.
You know what? Honestly, not one of my favorites. Like this is gonna be a really this is gonna be
Like I love
hot take?
Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Goodfellas is great.
You
But
want a hot one?
yeah.
Here's my
This is This Week in Horrible Rossi Takes.
I don't think Scorsese or Spielberg would be in my personal top 10. There's a lot of directors out there, and I like some of their movies quite a bit, but I don't like them all. I'm not like hey, just show up and I'm going to see every single movie that they do. Not some of it's not really my cup of tea. So
I'm going to say this as a director. I'm looking at Martin Scorsese's thing right now. I think we talked about this when we talked about
Irishman. Terrible.
We talked about The Irishman, and I said he has not directed a good movie since.
Here we go.
Let me see. I want to see. Known for. Oh, come on.
Because Well, so I personally, I got his list up in front of me. I personally didn't like The Wolf of Wall Street. I didn't love Hugo. I did like Shutter Island. Shutter Island was in 2010. But you could keep going if you don't like Shutter Island. Departed was
fine.
That's kind of really cooled off over time. The Aviator was 04. Not really.
I didn't like that.
Gangs in New York was pretty badass. That was 02.
It's okay. So you're gonna say he hasn't made in around 20 years. He hasn't made a good movie.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years.
Again, I personally like Shutter Island, but outside of that, I would say sure. But I mean, obviously he did Goodfellas, he did Raging Bull, he did Taxi Driver. So he is like a great director. But when you start piling up all the movies, I'm like, I don't know. I like smaller guys a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like Fincher. Fincher and Nolan, I like their catalogs better.
Even was it Aronofsky who made Pi? Darren Aronofsky's another one too, but
dude, Darren Aronofsky makes some weird ones though. I don't know.
Like Pi, Pi was weird.
Pi was fucking insane. Requiem for a Dream with Aronofsky.
But I remember watching the first. I think the first Nolan movie I saw was Memento, and I was like, "This is incredible, awesome."
It's incredible. Aronofsky also did The Wrestler, which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
He did Black Swan, which is pretty good. But he also did Mother. That was kind of nuts. He did.
Did you know?
The Whale. I haven't seen The Whale yet. Actually,
I haven't seen The Whale yet. I need to see The Whale. But I was listening to the Always Sunny podcast, and there was a moment where Roddy Piper was considered for The Wrestler.
He's a good actor, man. He's in.
That's what they were talking about, the one where he was on as the Maniac.
I think he's so funny. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, Jason in the chat's got a good point. Good acting makes good directors. So to tie it back to sports, if Scorsese basically only works with De Niro or DiCaprio,
yep,
it's very similar to Phil Jackson only coaching Jordan and Shaq Kobe.
And I would go a step further to Jason's point and say that good writing is where both of those start.
Yes. And then that's true because then you have some of these guys that are really impressive to me, like the Christopher Nolan, some of the others that write and direct their own shit. So you're like, no matter, and like Tarantino, one of the reasons why I love him and like most people love him is like that blows you away. Yeah, Josh.
One of the things
Ridley Scott's a good one. I see. To me, Tony Scott, as far as like the movies that Tony Scott
pick of the pod,
no doubt, but because he was the one that did True Romance. So Tarantino wrote it, sold the script so he could make his other movies, and then he directed it. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But he had a run there, like Last Boy Scout, Crimson Tide, The Fan, Enemy of the State, Spy Game, Man on Fire. Did he had good one? Plus, I mean, he did Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Right.
Whew. And he's got a good. And then he got to the point where he's like, I'm just gonna work with Denzel for a bunch of movies, and that was pretty smart.
Oh, like Man on Fire was so good.
So good.
Jeez. You know what I recently watched? And I know it's Michael Mann, but I watched Collateral.
Collateral's
on Netflix. Movie. That's Michael Mann. I know, but that's
I know, awesome. But it's we were talking about Tom Cruise movies when we were doing that, whatever. I don't know why we're doing that. Was it Maverick? Oh no, because of Mission Impossible. We're talking about. I'm like, Collateral is one of the 5 best Tom Cruise movies.
Hell yeah!
If you don't mind me saying. All right, enough about that. Let's get to this.
It's time for Davey's video game minute, even if it takes more than a minute.
Oh, right. What do you have?
So this is going to be a quick one because we're already over time here, and we got to start. We get a lot to talk about today. So I'm going to ask you this, Richard. We're going to combine Davey's video game minute with should I have bought this? If I told you that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to be available to you next week at the price tag of $150, would you buy it?
This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
And you know me, Ryan. $150 to me is like $600 to everybody else listening because I am a cheapskate. So, but $150 but that game's unbelievable. I'd play it. You know how many hours I'd play that game? Like, yeah.
Well, that is exactly what the developer Rocksteady is arguing with potentially selling this game for $150. Is that for the price of 2 games, essentially, you have thousands of hours of content. Which no other game can do that.
Well, I would argue now, maybe not thousands, but Overwatch 1, we played quite a bit. And the reason why I know we played it quite a bit is because it's one of those games that tells you how much you played it.
How much you played it.
How much each character you played and everything else. Yep. And just the online version of it, going back however many years ago, I played that so much. And what was so awesome about that game is new maps, new characters, new skins, free. So I spent I spent $60 on that game, and I played a ton of hours on that. But this one's tough because, like, and I understand little kids shouldn't be playing Grand Theft Auto. Let's just say even like teenagers or whatever, and it's like their birthday, and they're like, "Hey, I really want Grand Theft Auto." And like their parents, or maybe they have like an uncle or something. It's like, I'll buy the game. I'll get the game for you. And then they're like, $150? Like, I'm not going to buy you a fucking $150 game. Like, what are you, nuts?
But says this game's going to be around for at least 10 years. It's going to have an online component. And I would love to see them do that Overwatch model where like any updates to the game itself are free. Yeah. If you want to buy a car or you want to buy in-game stuff that's cosmetic, fine. But like, anything that we do in terms of events, in terms of updates,
new
all of that's free.
Something,
until you get it should be like cell phone. So it'd be like
hands off that game,
right? So if you're like until we make Grand Theft Auto 7, every update for like Destiny's been doing this for years too. Any update to this is going to be free.
All right, here's my question then.
Yeah,
Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the most anticipated games of all time. What's the number where you would say I'm not buying it?
200.
Okay, so if it was 200 on the nose, you'd be like, it's too much. Anything under 200?
I take that back. No, because I'm thinking about it now too. If this game sucks, like that's the other thing. Like there's a lot of people who just assume that this is going to be like a breakthrough game, and I know that Rocksteady does such a good job of like really getting it right before launch. But what if it sucks?
Well, it's funny you say that because I still haven't played Gotham Knights. And
Yeah,
that's one of those games that I thought I bought the system for. It's got
sure.
Red Hood. I can play as Red Hood. Like you're literally speaking my language. Like that should be the game that I'm the first person in line for. I didn't get it right away, and then all I heard was negative reviews about it. And I'm like, I'm not playing this game. I don't think that'll happen with GTA, but
No.
still.
And I think I'm going to revisit Gotham Knights at some point because I just
Okay.
kind of soured on it because it was kind of boring,
Is the
which
price
you would
come down?
never think. So I was going to say, I don't know, but if you could get Gotham Knights for under $20, get it.
I will. Yeah,
But,
no, if it is for that, I'll get it and then we can play. We could stream it or something.
yeah.
All right.
I'll let you be Red Hood. But I played 3 of the characters and he's the best in the game by far.
Is he? Yeah, but I'm like, what's the fucking jump thing that he does?
It's dumb. I mean, that's a dumb mechanic, but like, he's a tank. Like you wouldn't think that Red Hood is the tank of the crew, but it's pretty. I mean, getting to shoot guns and like getting to do different types of gun, like the customization is pretty cool. I'll give it that. But the story itself and the missions were just kind of boring. So,
dude, I'm going on the TLDR podcast not once but twice this month, and
brag.
one, yeah, no big deal, kind of a big deal. One of the episodes is going to be me and Fryer just talking Red Hood, all Red Hood stuff, all the essential Red Hood stuff, Red Hood soup to nuts, Red Hood.
All right.
Yeah,
if they ever need a Spider-Man guy,
they might.
Doesn't matter which version. You just tell them
yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pass that along. I'll pass on that. That
need a Morbius guy. Need a guy to talk Morbius. Sleepwalker. I'm your guy.
Oh, Sleepwalker. Maybe they do. Yeah. All right. Very good. Yeah. 150. I saw that on Twitter too, and I was like, fuck. They got my money. Doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
All right, Ryan. I got a very important question for you.
Y'all ready for biz?
Topic du jour time.
Topic du jour time.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's the topic of the day. And today it is Ahsoka Midseason. We are 4 episodes into the 8-episode season of Ahsoka on Disney Plus. We already did an episode on episode 1 and 2. We might do a little overlap, but this one will probably be more focused on the last 2 episodes that we saw. We will begin briefly, spoiler free, just through 4 episodes for those that either are waiting to binge to the end or for those that haven't watched all 4 episodes just yet. General overall thoughts on how this series has sort of lived up to the hype, to what we're all excited about this show. Where are you at right now?
I love the fact that what this show does is when you're talking about content, there's something that progresses the content, which this kind of does. And if you're looking for it to progress the content, you're like, okay, the stuff you already know. But what I really love about this is it goes deep. Like it doesn't go far, it goes deep. Like it goes into things that we've heard about and seen, but like really does a deep dive into some things that I think are really cool in this universe that haven't gotten their due, if that makes any sense. Without giving out any spoilers, like we're getting into some deeper stuff now.
Dude, I love it. And I think it's one of the great things about, and I know it sounds like a broken record, but like Clone Wars and Rebels, there's a lot of really good stuff in there. Yes, there's some filler, but there's a lot of really good stuff. And most of it is over, it's Dave Filoni sort of overseeing all of it, and some of it is his creation. So Ahsoka Tano is a Dave Filoni creation. Dave Filoni, and not to stooge away the entire thing from The Master and Apprentice, but the George Lucas and Dave Filoni are all, they mention how that's also like a Master and Apprentice situation.
Sure.
And Filoni, though, has found a way to heighten some of the storylines from, say, the prequels, which are not very well reviewed, even by Star Wars fans. He's sort of taken some of those characters, some of those storylines, heightened them, added characters that were never in any of the movies, and yet kind of like works them in like seamlessly with characters that were already established or just overall storylines that were already established. And this is really his, like, The Mandalorian's one thing. The Mandalorian's cool. I like The Mandalorian. But this, to me, is like more of like Filoni's kind of like coming out party, because he's like, he already had a chance to work with it in the animated world. And now he's like, all right, Ahsoka, Hera, Sabine. We haven't even really gotten to Thrawn yet, but like these are characters that were sort of created in TV and comics away from it. And now I think even more people are going to get introduced to it. And one thing Rosario Dawson said on the little master and apprentice thing was Ahsoka's one of the most like fleshed out characters in Star Wars. Like there's so much to her entire throw in a little Tales of the Jedi too. Like there is so much of her story already told. And I don't know. That's why I love this, and I'm looking forward to where it's going from here.
And that's why I think if you think this is a slog, and I think I get it where someone said it in the chat earlier that this, I think it was JT said like this is kind of a slog.
Yeah, not for me.
If you haven't, I don't know if JT's seen all the stuff, but like to me, there's like this character development here, and Filoni knows storytelling just in the, and this is going to sound, here we go, but like his grasp of mythology and not regardless
or even the
of
Romans and Greeks,
regardless of where it comes from,
Yeah.
he has an fundamental understanding of mythology and how that works. So he's building these things and using elements from that in Star Wars, whether you like it or not. And I think that is a really intelligent thing. It's not treating I think one of the things, for lack of a better term, like this guy saved Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone's going to question that. He's whatever you like about Star Wars within the last 40 years, that's Dave Filoni.
Yeah. I agree. And I think he really added to like the prequel, which like the prequels were cool when we were little. And like when they first came out, you're like, oh, these are cool. But like in reality, they're not the best movies. But then the stuff that he sort of added to it made you want to go back and watch them. He told like a whole like 7-season story in between episode 2 and 3, which is insane.
Yeah.
And yet didn't take away or didn't like contradict anything from the movies and still told this other story. Like the whole idea of Anakin Skywalker having a Padawan. They don't talk about it in the movies, but they find a way to make it plausible. And not only do they do that, but the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka is like suddenly one of the best Star Wars relationships that there is.
Right.
And
because you've seen one of the most meaningful things in the original trilogy was and I see spiritually, not physically, obviously, but like the relationship of like siblings and like how that works. And I honestly see Ahsoka as like Anakin's sister and like how that relationship of like an older brother, younger sister.
Yeah, right.
And how that deeply affects her.
Yeah.
And him for
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so, yeah, I think it's been good. And then, because to me, it hasn't been a slog because they also throw in like there's a lightsaber fight, I think, in every episode. And there's good stuff. I have a couple of like quibbles overall. Like one, and I don't even, this isn't really a spoiler. So like, I feel like just from watching Rebels, Sabine is a little bit more of a badass in like the stuff that she does and the situation she's been put in and like not stressed about versus this, they're making her like a little bit more of like a rookie than she really is.
I think I think one of the things that's important to note too is what is this, like 5 years after Rebels ends?
Yeah, probably something like that.
And a lot of shit has happened. And they haven't even started that yet. Like you could do a whole series on what happened from the end of Rebels to where Sabine is now.
Yeah.
And you could do and I love that Ahsoka is like this kind of brash, kind of ballsy character. And then when you see her at the very start of the Ahsoka series, she's very stoic. She doesn't talk a lot. She's very like, and
that's one complaint I saw was,
but I think in this latest episode, you see that start to come back. Yeah. Like there's some things that she's doing now that you're like, ooh, and it's like people around her are being threatened. So she's kind of heightened a little bit. Losing control.
Yeah, for sure. One of the criticisms I've read, and really when I mention TV critics, it's really just Alan Sepinwall from Rolling Stones. It's like the only guy that I follow, I think, on Twitter. But anyway, and usually I kind of agree with a lot of the shows that he likes and doesn't like. But one thing he has said about Ahsoka is he's like complaining about the dialogue being like kind of corny or like long pauses. But like to me, it's Star Wars, and I'm not in it for like the just unbelievably written stuff. Like, I don't think that's really the point. So it doesn't affect me at all. I haven't really noticed it.
I've noticed it in the way that I think of it as, and this is just my take on it, is that there's an answer that Ahsoka wants to give and
Mm.
has to pause and give the right answer.
Yeah.
So there's a, you know, like when you're like,
She's like
you
always
wanna
playing that
tell-
game. She's always playing a long
and
game.
she's always trying to like keep everything in check. So like think of it like this. I have a 7 and a 9-year-old children. There are many times during the day where I just be like, you just the fuck out of my face. But you don't say that.
You can't say that. No, you can't say that.
You can't
Yeah.
say that because that would hurt their feelings, right? So you say you take a breath, you take a beat, you wait, and you say, I told you 5 times. Like,
Yeah.
That's where that goes.
I need you to stop doing what you're doing.
Right.
I'm asking you nicely.
Yeah.
You know,
and this is the last time I'm asking
you know,
nicely.
I could just pick you up and put you like carry you to any room of the house that I want, right?
Mhm.
You can't. So the next episode, the 5th episode, is not only going to be directed by Dave Filoni, who wrote the entire season, but I read it's also going to be in some theaters.
Yes.
So we are in store for something coming up.
And it's over 50 minutes long. It's one of the longer episodes too.
Nice. Good.
So how episode 4 ends that's going to be I have an idea.
Dude, there's theories abound. There are theories on top of theories. Anything else spoiler free? We might as well go into spoilers, right?
Let's go into spoilers.
Everybody's watched this show.
Spoilers! 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 Here come the spoilers!
Yeah, so there's like 2 or 3 things that happened in the last episode that Davey and I texted each other basically at the same time, and we're like, we're obviously talking about this week. Like, what else can we talk about?
And you were like, I thought I had texted you that, but I'm like,
I
you didn't.
literally
But like,
did. I was like, I thought I already did. And you're like, no. And so I'm like, all right, so we're definitely doing this. And so last week we spent some time talking about, is it Marok? How do you say his name?
Marok.
Marok.
Yeah.
Marok.
Let's say like Marok or something. They say it weird. Yeah.
Call it whatever you want. He's got like the Inquisitor lightsaber that spins. He had the helmet on.
Mhm.
There were theories all over the place. Theories including Darth Maul, Ezra Bridger, the Cal Kestis, like you name it. People were like, who the fuck is it? Kanan Jarrus. I heard somebody DM'd us and like, could it be Kanan Jarrus? I'm like, dude, I don't know who it could be. Maybe it could be. Sure.
Yeah.
You can bring people back from the dead in Star Wars. It's like comics. It's what you do whatever you want. Turns out all just a red herring because he's nobody, or so we think.
So there are some certain things that happen when he goes down at the hands of Ahsoka.
Yes.
So she cuts him, and there's like this gas, and there's like this scream.
Yeah.
So that I was watching like Easter eggs, and like I every time I do, I go, all right, I'm gonna go watch like recaps of this. And someone pointed out that when the Night Sisters die, it's an emission of green gas and that scream. So he could be like a reanimated corpse of a Night Sister.
Yeah.
Or a Night Sister reanimated an Inquisitor.
Correct. I would say Night Sister just took somebody, whether he was an Inquisitor or somebody that was a fighter or anything, and brought him. So it could be Morgan Elsbeth or one of the other theories. Now I know she has since died, but if you go back to Clone Wars, Darth Maul's mom was its sister Talzin, 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 whatever you want to say. He has a capital T on his chest. And so some are wondering if like she's the one, or at least her witchcraft or something is the one that brought him back, which would be a cool tie-in. Because I know a lot of people are like, yeah, they gotta do Darth Maul. Well, Darth Maul's mom, who was a badass, I want to say General Grievous killed her. But anyway, you can figure out who that was. But just another connection to like that world. But any kind of Night Sister shit, if we take a trip to Dathomir, I might pass out. If they go to Dathomir in the next 4 episodes, I don't know why they would go, but if they did,
they're jumping systems now, so I don't know why they would.
I don't think they would go there, but if they did, I would just pass out right on the couch. Yeah, but so this, I kind of like the fact though that they built up this character. He was kind of off to the side. He was like a secondary character for a few episodes, but at least people started talking about him and they theorized all these things. And he ended up being none of those characters, at least for now. I like that because then I think you could bring up another one. There'll be another character, and then these theories, and then you're like, well, it could be, maybe it's not, and then and then it is,
Yeah.
or it's not, and then you wait for the third time, and then it is. But like, I like keeping him guessing because Filoni definitely gives fans what they want, but you don't have to just like at every single turn be like, it's Darth Maul, and it's fucking this guy, and it's like it's Qui-Gon's back, and you're like, stop.
But I love that Filoni's good at the yes and.
Mhm.
So you do like okay, so that was nobody, but now in my brain I'm like, so Night Sisters can make zombie Inquisitors?
Seems like it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like you could make an
Like,
army.
you're mad at that?
So basically, right. And so think about
Yeah.
this. You go back to like Clone Wars, and like that's the whole, like, you had an army of clones, and then there's like an army of like droids, and then there's like an army of like stormtroopers. Like later on, they're like, we can't trust the clones, so we're gonna like build our own stormtrooper. If you can just build an army of zombies like the Night Sisters apparently can.
Or I mean, you've seen this is what Moff Gideon was trying to do. He was trying to create clone force sensitive humans.
Yes.
Or force sensitive creatures. So now you're like, I can just reanimate them and imbue them with force.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That was a good idea. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
It's a pretty smart play. Yeah. So Marok, at least to this point, is kind of nothing. But yeah, so Ahsoka knocks him out. But then Ahsoka in their big battle. So episode 4 is awesome, by the way. Fallen Jedi is the name of the episode. Great stuff. One of the best episodes. If you put it right up there with all the best episodes from Mandalorian or Andor, I would put this right up there with it. And Ahsoka gets like kicked like off a ledge and goes down to like, I don't know, there's like an ocean down behind there or whatever. You don't really know what's going on. At this point, Sabine gets captured. She's at first not gonna get captured, but then they're all talking to her, and they're like, well, like, Ezra, you could see Ezra again type of thing. She was going to blast the map, and then they wouldn't know where Thrawn was. So that's sort of that whole storyline.
And so this is, by the way, it's the same exact promise that was given to Anakin. That he was like, he watched Padme die.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've seen that, and that's going to happen, but you can see her again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the same promise that was given to him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. That'll get you.
That'll get you.
But then Ahsoka wakes up in the world between worlds. Now, this was, if you go back to our Rebels episode, drink every time we say Rebels during an Ahsoka episode, by the way. Yeah, that'd be a nice game. But Rebels season 4, episode 13 is actually just straight up called World Between Worlds. That's one of like there's only like a few episodes after that until the series is over. So you could start from there and watch the end of them if you're pressed for time. But this is that place, and it's like it's space and time, and there's a scene where in that Rebels they talk about the person who controls it can control the universe, if in fact you can control the world between worlds. And it's not time travel per se, Ryan, but it's just this crazy like place, and it looks like these like kind of roads, a lot of like just blackness, and then these like different like portals to like get in and out of. And clearly there's a whole connection between the Jedi and this place. When you're talking about like what powers Jedi have or whatever else, like it's not just lightsabers and like being able to like, float a cup over to you that's on the table. Like there's more shit that they can do. And the world between worlds is a big, big part of that. And Davey's mic is broken. What a fucking asshole. The reason why I was stunned, I wouldn't have talked that long, but I could tell him he's fiddle fucking around with his mic. I see all of a sudden he's muted, he's unmuted. Just don't touch the setup. Don't touch a goddamn thing. I can't hear you. You're muted. Can you unmute the mic? He's laughing at me. Nobody can hear you. I swear to Christ. I want to get up and get another beer. You sit there like an asshole. I just had this great setup about the world. Turn your mic's muted. You're muted. Can you hear me? He's out. This is not a way to do a podcast. There's supposed to be a back and forth. Now, I guess I could just turn into a solo podcast. How many people would listen to that? You're probably just shaking your head now. You're like, no, God, no. Think about that for a second. That might be the next poll question. If this became a solo podcast, would you listen? Yes or no? It's two questions.
I'd listen.
Now Dave's popping back on. I can't
listen.
see you. If you can see us, it takes a second for you. Now you're back in.
I'd listen to that.
You heard me.
I just heard you now. So I was sitting here. I was sitting here at my and I kicked. I don't know if you saw it. I kicked the cord out of my microphone, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. You look like you were on a heater. Like you were talking. You were in it.
Well,
And
what
I
happened?
couldn't hear a goddamn word you were saying.
Well, and then like I said to everybody, listen, I said you were fiddle fucking around, and I saw that you were on mute, and then you were unmuted. So then,
Right.
Like,
so I was trying to plug the microphone back in frantically.
It's like hosting a radio show, and your co-host is like hacking up a lung. You just gotta fill. You just gotta keep talking. So I didn't want to talk that whole time. But basically, World Between Worlds, Ryan.
Yes.
I was trying to explain how it's very tied to the Jedi, and yet we've barely scratched the surface because it was really introduced in the final few episodes of Rebels.
And this was something that we know that Ezra can access. We know that it's Dave Filoni's come out and said it's not necessarily time travel.
Right.
You can see into different times, but you can't necessarily manipulate it.
So the one thing we saw manipulated in the World Between Worlds was in season 2 of Rebels, Ahsoka and Vader fight, and it's fucking awesome. And then in season 4, Ezra stumbles upon that moment and pulls Ahsoka out of there. To me, I'm like wondering, all right, how does that affect her timeline? How does that affect everything else? But he also has a chance. So then he's with Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds. He sees the moment where Kanan Jarrus sacrifices himself, dies to save the rest of the rebels. And Ezra's like, I'm going to step in and save him. And Ahsoka's like, you can't. Like, he did that to save everybody else. So if you take him out, like, you don't know what's going to happen. So Ezra
right. And so, like, if you save him, we all might die.
Right.
And so this is the same decision she makes in this episode too, because her talking to Sabine, she says, like, if we can't get there, no one should get there.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, we're going to sacrifice Ezra.
Yeah. Right.
So Thrawn doesn't come back.
Right. Like, yeah. As great as it would be for us to get Ezra, it's worse if Morgan Elsbeth and what's his name, Skull, and what if they
Skull
are,
Shin Hati and Skull Balin, Balin Skull, so they can't get there. So we have to stop. If we can't get there, we're going to stop them. And someone does point out too. I know that Palpatine can see the World Between Worlds, and Yoda was in there too.
But Palpatine,
he shot the fire in at Ezra.
Shot the fire in. Like, I think he knows about it and is like trying to get it. And that's what the whole point in Rebels is. And that's what, like, when they capture Sabine, because they're trying to like solve this thing and like this portal to try to get in there, because I think Palpatine wants Ezra so that he can get control of it. But I don't know if he knows how to like get in there. And it's funny when they're in there, they hear Jedi voices of it was Yoda, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Kanan Jarrus, Ahsoka, Rey, Maz Kanata, you hear Princess Leia, Vader. I also think, remember, skipping way ahead to Rise of Skywalker. There's that moment where Rey hears all those voices, and one of them's Ahsoka. And so you're like, oh shit, those are all dead Jedi.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like, or not so fast, because if you can fuck around in the World Between Worlds and not be dead, like, because he's listening to dead and non-dead Jedi, Ezra is there. So I think Ahsoka, there's a chance, survives past the new trilogy.
She could, but it also could be just like she's talking in the World Between Worlds. So, like, not to bring up the McConaughey, like, time is a flat circle thing, but they could be talking through, because I think Morgan says something about being able to hear Thrawn through time and space. He's
Okay.
calling to me through time and space. So it's not just like distance,
Crazy.
it's actual time as well. So there's that concept of like I could talk to myself 20 years ago, but I'm still in this reality.
Yeah, and so I'm sure smarter people know the answer to this, but that must be sort of the deal with like Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka got pulled out by future Ezra, but then she probably went back, lived the rest of her life, and then kind of caught up to
So
him. Like, how's
does
that
it
work?
kind of make sense? And I'm riffing right now because now it's like
Good.
all falling into place on me. Do Force users, when they talk about who's Force sensitive, is that what they're sensitive to? Is that the thing that like these preternatural, like these ideas and like
Could be.
these abilities are those things that are being told to me through time and space? Can I tap into that? And that's where the Force itself originates.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's possible.
So that's like Kramer being at the corner of First Avenue and First Avenue. He's the nexus of the universe. Like everything goes from there. Maybe that's the center of this entire universe, is that.
Yeah. And then there's also the whole thing of the father, the son, and the daughter.
So now we're getting into, in this episode, you hear the voice, Ahsoka turns around, it's Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
It's not. That's the son.
You think so?
In my head. That's the son
Yeah.
presenting as Anakin.
The daughter, not to get off topic there, but the daughter also took the form of Morai, her owl, that would help Ahsoka, like saved Ahsoka at times, right?
But part of her was put into Ahsoka as well.
Okay.
Right? Her life force is what brought her back to life. So she's in Ahsoka as well.
So interesting. The Anakin part, it could be, certainly could be, and probably is likely some sort of misdirection.
Mhm.
I also think because it's a whole space-time thing, this could be Anakin at any time.
Yeah.
So I think it is Anakin. I also wonder if it is Vader Anakin.
Well, so that's the question.
Yeah, like I don't think it's young Anakin and like they're still buds. Part of me thinks he's doing it to manipulate Ahsoka and he's actually like after their fight. Because here's my guess, and this is only based on all the stuff that we watched, movies, TV show, comics. I feel like Vader probably didn't know of the world between worlds until Ahsoka got pulled out of his fight.
Right.
And he was like, where the fuck did she go? And either he figured it out on his own or maybe Palpatine told him at that point. And then so whatever, all this time passes. And because you can still, they have another line in there about how like you can be passed on and still kind of like manipulate the living in a way.
Right.
So this is sort of some uncharted territory, but I think there's a lot
uncharted.
to unpack here. Yeah.
But I know it's not, in my gut says it's not a Force ghost because those are like blue.
So Force Ghost, no, I don't think there's Force Ghost there. I don't think that's what you're dealing with. I think Force Ghost is more like if you're in like regular place and they show up to talk to you and it's not just them in their ear. This world between worlds, I think, is a different kind of thing altogether.
But it's also what would be great too is that like remember one of Vader's lines is like when I think it's an Obi-Wan, he's like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did.
Yeah.
So maybe that's that side of Anakin.
What do you think about Lears' thought? Could Anakin somehow have gotten in the world between worlds at some time in the past, pulled Ahsoka into the world between worlds before she fell off the cliff like Ezra did in Rebels?
I think that's going to be what we're going to talk about in episode 5. I think that's what it is. I think that in the time Ahsoka left Anakin, where he was looking for her, like before he became. So there's that period of time where we don't really know what happened yet, because remember, Ahsoka takes off from the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
And that's the last time she ever sees Anakin is when he gives her the lightsabers and then goes, right? And there's that period of time between then and becoming Darth Vader, where I think he's like looking for her.
Yeah.
And the only way he can find her is like, and he finds her 20 years later.
Yeah.
But in that space.
Possible.
So that could be a young Anakin and an older Ahsoka, where Ahsoka is kind of older than Anakin now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess.
Or my other theory is that,
Yeah.
again, that it's the son, and you were going to get a fight because Sam Witwer's still out there. So Sam Witwer is like additional voices, and he's still listed as a cast member, but we haven't seen him yet. Could you have, like, if it's the son taking on different forms, you get Ahsoka fighting both Vader and Maul?
I mean, you could, anything's on the table with Filoni. I would say he's opened the door up. Or
It's like a Shang Tsung situation.
Like the world between worlds allows you to do pretty much whatever you want.
So she could fight Dooku. She could not she's gonna fight Dooku, but like she could fight Grievous. She could fight whoever.
I kind of think there's a chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Also, real quick, we didn't mention it, but episode 3, Hera trying to get help from the senators to like with this whole thing to like it's important that we go get Ezra. Mon Mothma, who is all over the place, dude. Mon Mothma, she's everywhere. She's all over Rogue One. She's in this, she's in Andor. You can't go anywhere without Mon Mothma. Space whales. You see the Purgle.
The Purgle.
In this, you see it up in the sky a little bit.
And you hear them.
Yep. And they also talk about like what they can do and that kind of thing. Oh, good Hugh Yang, couple of episodes. The droid.
He can fight.
He could fight a little bit. He obviously has great knowledge of the Jedi and the whole thing at the beginning of episode 4, though. He's pretty good. What else? Anything else on this?
I loved the fight between Baylan and Ahsoka, where it's just kind of like, she's starting to lose her cool a little bit, and she keeps trying to grab the map, burns her hand.
Yeah.
Which was I was told was a nod to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Interesting.
Where now the map is on her hand. She actually burned it into her hand.
There you go. Yep.
Like the Staff of Ra, which would be kind of cool.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Like we don't need the map. I like burned it into my goddamn hand. So right here. Yeah.
I like it. One of the other Easter eggs that I saw somebody tweeting about was real quick in Hera's. Is that the Ghost? I think it is the Ghost, right? That they're flying around in still, or is it something? Yeah. Like there's like a quick shot. She has like a little photo in the cockpit, and it's clearly got to be Kanan Jarrus.
You take your kid on that trip, by the way?
Yeah, Jason.
That doesn't seem like good parenting.
No, it doesn't. Now he thinks he's gonna be. He wants to be a Jedi. He probably will be.
He probably will be. He did say that I have a bad feeling. Now, again, that's a very Star Warsy thing, but that's also like I'm guessing that's a Force feeling.
Yeah,
like something's not right.
I don't love the little kids though, to be honest. Like I don't think you need little kids running around.
It's not like Kid Leia. Like they're using him sparingly. They've learned.
It's not Kid Leia. It's not young Anakin from episode 1. Doing the best he could. This is pod racing. Hang in there.
Poor kid. Yeah.
All right. So like I like the slow build to Thrawn. Do you think we get Thrawn in episode 5, or do you think they save it a little bit longer? Because we obviously have to get this Anakin payoff.
You get him at the end of 5.
Yeah, maybe.
You might also get Zeb here too.
Yeah, Zeb. They got to bring Zeb in.
They got to bring Zeb in. I think this is the one where you're like, you're plateauing here, and then you're coming in. You're coming in for like the ending, so you're ramping up a little bit. I think you have
especially
to.
now that Sabine has been captured. Don't you think Hera reaches out to Zeb and is like,
"Yes,
we're fucked here. Like, I don't know where Ahsoka is, and Sabine's gone." Good call. Definitely.
Yeah.
I love it, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's another surprise up our sleeve, because as much as the internet has like told us everything that's going to happen in other shows, I didn't know Luke Skywalker was going to be in Book of Boba Fett. And like that was pretty crazy. You know?
Need a big one here. I think we need a big one here.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome. And again, fan service being what it is. I mean, you could get some Palpatine.
You could.
Good. Some reanimation stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think of like big hitters who are still in play. I would love to see, because Luke, so technically, Kylo Ren is an up-and-comer here.
He's a baby, though, wouldn't he?
No, I think he's not a baby. Young. I think he's...
Well, yeah, because there's a big gap between.
He's a kid.
and 7.
He is probably Jason's age.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's possible.
Could you get Baby Ray? Sweet Baby Ray.
Han Solo's out there out and about. Get him in there.
Oh, could you imagine?
Han
they're like trying to find Han and Chewie show. Oh my god. That'd be
Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. This goddamn show. Yep. I love it. So hit us up with any theories that you have had or Easter eggs that we have missed. Go to @Dork Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and you can email us dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Lastly, on this, and I don't know, maybe they've already announced it. I didn't read this anywhere. Is this a 1-season show? Is it multiple seasons? But if you had your druthers, how many seasons of Ahsoka would we get?
3.
Yeah, you can go as long as you want because I don't think she's confirmed dead. So you can keep going.
Love a good 3-season arc, and she dies at the end.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get 2 seasons out of Andor, considering the time that they had to like shoehorn it in, you can get 3 seasons out of Ahsoka.
Oh my god, Andor's so good too.
Andor's fucking awesome. Andor's great.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the pod.
All right, Brian, would you like to kick, receive, defer, or you may choose this time to defend a goal?
Neither, but I will defer to you this week.
Then I will receive. I'm actually excited about this. So, speaking of comic books, we mentioned comic books a couple of times. The DC, inspired by The Killing Joke, written years and years ago by Alan Moore, which was a 64-page, just like one-shot story about one bad day that really became the origin story of the Joker. And it's an amazing comic. It's one of the best comics ever written. So, inspired by that, DC had 8 different writers do a Batman One Bad Day story about one of Batman's villains. And so it's not Joker, because I think they realized, like, what's the point of doing that? You know, they basically, this is what we're already doing. We're basing it off of Joker. So it's 8 villains, and I've read all 8 of them. They're all available on that Hoopla app, but 2 of them are worth just like buying. If you see them in the store, buy them. The 2 I would recommend are the Riddler, written by Tom King, and then Ra's al Ghul, written by Tom Taylor. Awesome. Those 2 fucking were great. Now, they also do Two-Face, Penguin, Bane, Clayface, Catwoman, and who am I missing? Gotta be one other guy, because there's 8. I know there's 8 of them total. Who else is a fucking villain?
Mr. Freeze?
And Mr. Freeze, thank you. So those are the 8. I'll tweet out my rankings coming out pretty soon, because I just finished all of them. You can rip through them like quick, like they're each one's whatever I just said, 64 pages. But specifically Riddler and Ra's al Ghul. If you only have time to read 2, read those 2. So anyway, that's
for me. Yeah, my pick of the pod this week is something that I haven't seen yet, but I'm really excited to see. Richard, have you seen the movie Black Dynamite with Michael J. White?
Oh yeah, from a while ago.
Yeah, Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious movie, right?
Yeah.
So the directors and the actors who brought you Black Dynamite this movie's coming out on Netflix this week, called Outlaw Johnny Black. It's like Black Dynamite, but a cowboy movie.
Awesome.
So I will be watching that this week, because that shit is hilarious.
I love it.
So,
all right, very good.
Yeah, think of like Dolomite, but Western.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right, next week I think we might have an open space, but we have upcoming Lost, Saw, and the entire Ahsoka season. Those are all on the way. Next week is TBD, but follow us at Dork Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. We will let you know.
Brings us right into Dorktober.
And then it's Dorktober. And we're definitely going to do Talk to Me. That's one of them we're for sure going to do. And then we'll cook up some other big time.
Maybe do that next week. We can shoehorn that in. We'll see what's what.
Oh, that's true. I guess we could do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're up to our hog and Saw
up to the meat. Have we done a Saw retrospective? Could we do that?
Dude, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I thought we said we're just doing Saw 10.
Oh,
no, all the Saw movies.
Do the whole franchise.
Okay, I thought you were just saying do Saw 10. I'm like, okay, cool. Like we can do that. I didn't know you meant the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, dude. Let's. Do you
Yeah.
want to put them all in one episode? I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we see Saw 10 when it comes out, and then but
Yes.
then that
Okay.
night or then that next episode we just talk all Saws.
Sometimes the wires get crossed. Sometimes you kick the wires out. And all hell breaks loose.
Plug the goddamn microphone mid conversation. That's true. And then you can email us if you have any thoughts, you have any dreams that you want to share with us, dorkpodcast@gmail.com.
If you have any fears, you want us to know, what are your darkest fears?
Yeah, what are your biggest fears? Well,
Yeah.
while you were off air for a minute, I asked people if they had any hunger for a solo podcast, if they would listen to if it was just me.
And I came back in at that moment and said I would listen to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your fears?
I can't promise you that I won't kick the microphone cord out anymore.
It's fine. It's fine.
That's called a segue. They gave you the one thing I can promise you. Another thing I can't promise you.
My God, I'm gonna freaking explode inside you. I'm gonna spill it. I'm gonna fill you up. Oh.
I'm gonna fill you up.
What?
I'm gonna fill you up.
Okay, just let me do the talking. Sorry. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Oh. I'm meant to do it. Oh. 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 Oh.
And that's the way the news goes.